today. We have a beautiful day. We always have a beautiful day for the bus tour, so it's special weather for us. I want to say a big thank you to the bus tour committee, which is Ray Ayton, Michelle Cares, Jess Neidick, Ann Nelson, Mike Painter, and Jeff Stevens. Great crew. Fun to work with. Thanks. We have a special thanks to Eric Anderson, who works for the city. He made the map. It's a really nice map, if you notice. Rattlesnake Gardens made the food. It's really delicious. They make nice stuff. Mountain Water brought the Hit the Tap water wagon for us, and Beach Transportation, we'd like to thank them for the great bus, and Clay Hopper, our third-year driver. So thank you, Clay.
You're welcome.
All right. So we're excited to have some city council members attending. We have Ed Childers. Ed, there's Ed. Yay, Ed.
Yay, Ed.
Brian from Lossburg. Where's Brian? There he is in the back.
Yay, Brian.
Yay, Brian.
Yay, Brian.
And Jason Weiner. There's Jason. Hey, thank you. So each presenter, when it comes time to present, you will come up here and grab the microphone and give your little presentation. We ask if you please introduce yourself and what neighborhood you're from, and also if anybody ever asks you a question, please repeat the question into the microphone so everybody's able to hear it. And please remember, be respectful. We have MCAT here and they're going to be filming us, so we have to be on our best behavior. So thank you everyone, and let's have a great time. Yay!
Shall we?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Gwen Jones. I'm with the Rose Park Neighborhood Council, and we are on the perimeter of Rose Park Neighborhood right now. We're coming up on Holiday Village when we cross Brooks and make a left-hand turn, and I just wanted to update you on what's going on with that. Holiday Village is an old shopping center that has been in Missoula for many years. When I was 5 years old, there was an Albertsons there, and we used to shop there, so how many of you remember that? But Holiday Village is undergoing a rejuvenation. CVS, which was located on the far side of Holiday Village, has built a brand new facility, and they are going to build off of that. I spoke with a very nice man from New York who is handling all of this, and he sent me the plans, and all of Holiday Village is going to be redone in a style similar, matching the CVS building, basically, getting a new facelift. They're looking for new tenants. I asked him if he could get Baja Fresh in, and he said he tried, but they weren't interested. He thinks Missoula is not on their radar, but that anyone interested should contact Baja Fresh, and maybe we'll get them here. So
How about Trader Joe's?
exactly. Well, and my understanding is a lot of times those grassroots movements do result. And Trader Joe's is in Spokane. We're just 3 hours away, right down the distribution line. So anyway, Holiday Village will be redone, and the sign will also be redone. It's going to be in the same style, as I said, as the rest of the entire shopping section. And Joanne Fabrics will stay. Access Curves, Access Fitness will stay. China Buffet will stay, but they are looking for new tenants for the other areas, is my understanding. And I did not get any update on this little plaza here, the joint effort right next to Little Caesar's Pizza. I'm not sure what's going on with that. It was not included in the drawings, so I don't know if it's separate ownership or not. But it's always been a fun little shopping center. The next thing that we're coming up on in Rose Park neighborhood is our flagship Rose Park. Rose Park is a memorial park for Missoula. There are memorials for not only police and law enforcement, but several wars and people from Montana who have died while serving. There are over 2,000 rose bushes in Rose Park. They are maintained by the Rose Society, which is a private society. It is not funded by the city in any way. They get out every spring and summer and work on the roses. They would like to expand the rose beds and redo the irrigation system some. They're always looking for volunteers if anyone wants to help. There is a master plan for Rose Park that Parks and Rec has done. You can look it up online. It is beautiful. Rose Park will not be included in the Parks and Rec bond, which recently passed. It is not slated for that. So basically, they told me that the reason why they do a master plan is eventually down the line they can possibly get some funding. So this is a very long-term plan for Rose Park, but the master plan shows kind of formalizing the rose bush area. Lots of beautiful walkways, gorgeous trellises. Kind of, I would describe it as formalizing it, and it's really quite gorgeous. So it would be wonderful if at some point Rose Park could take that next step. In the meantime, it's a beautiful park. It gets a lot of use in the neighborhood. There is also a play area here with kids playing. You ready? I'm going to pass it on to the next one. Thank you. There you go.
I'm Claire Wood. I'm a member of the Rose Park Neighborhood Association also. And my job is to talk about the traffic signal box by Cafe Dolce. Most of the traffic signal boxes in the city funds most of the traffic signal box painting jobs. But this one was funded by Peter. Okay, I give up. This one was funded by. Tell me what to do.
Okay, try to get more volume for you, but
This one was funded by Peter Lambros, who owns Cafe Dolce right across the street. There it is. And it was painted in 2012 by Scott Miller, and the design is called Sunflowers and Dragonflies.
The traffic signal box is on your right.
This is my first microphone. Hi, I'm Julie Devlin from the Rose Park area. We're going over to...
maybe not so close to your mouth. About an inch away to do it.
Okay, we're going over to Willard School Park, officially known as Sunset Memorial Park, but I don't call it that, and nobody else does either. But we're mainly going to talk about the new trees that are there, but I just want to tell you and show you what a heavily used park it is. There's somebody there all day and all evening. First, the Willard kids, they set up a volleyball net, they chalked out a court, they play soccer and football and baseball. And today they were playing an art game with Gwen Hoppy. They were playing a very cool game called Flow. And they had made these instruments, and they were blowing them around, and they used hula hoops. And then the neighborhood kids used the swings and the climbing equipment. And then a preschool down the street, and One on Stevens marches their kids over there every day. They have 20 kids. And they have 3 teachers, and they play there for at least a half an hour. I don't want to forget anything. Okay, the Willard kids have a garden there. Garden City Harvest maintains it, right? They're responsible. Jason up at Peace Farm, and Jason who works for you was there today, and the kids were all shoveling compost out of a big truck. They were having a blast, and they spread it all over all the raised beds. And a basketball, there's always someone playing basketball. I didn't want to forget that. Okay. The main thing is that neighbors meet there to walk their dogs. They're there all day. And they have little groups that meet. In the wintertime, they all meet at 5 o'clock. And they're just these groups that have been doing it for years. And then in the spring, we have lacrosse. Gwen organized a lacrosse. Can you hear that? Gwen Jones organized a lacrosse league. What is it called, Gwen? We don't.
Missoula Lacrosse Club.
Okay, and it's the boys' lacrosse club. Because I asked them, there's a separate girls' one. They are. Are we here? Oh, good. And that's my house, so that's why I know so much about. Because I watch the playground all day. There they are. Aren't they adorable? Look how cute they are. Yeah, and that's the garden over there that Garden City Harvest planted. And these are the trees. There's a new you can't see it, the camp. There's a ponderosa pine, And over there are 3 maples, 3 red ones, and then these are honey locusts. There's one there and one there. The neighbor who lives in that brown house asked us for a grant to put them there, and so we helped him to write it out, and he planted them.
Is this garden one that the school operates, or is rental?
It's a Missoula County Public School. Oh, but the garden you're talking about, yeah. It's a school. Genevieve, do they have one at every school? Because everyone I've ever been at has a garden.
Not yet.
But not yet. I don't know where Jane went, but do you?
We're picking somebody up.
Oh, cool.
Yes. My question was whether the garden plots were rental plots or the school garden. And it's the school garden.
It is, but we're going to go to we're starting.
Oh, I know.
Genevieve's going to tell you
I
right
know.
around the corner. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Genevieve, and I'm from Garden City Harvest. Woo! Smash your foot. I'm going to talk a little bit about the new community garden we're putting in at the intersection of Ivy, Marshall, and Franklin Streets. It's kind of a dream project for us because we had identified it long ago as the perfect site. It's flat, it's got water, it's fabulous. And a neighbor approached us and said he wanted to do this. So we talked to the neighborhood council, and they were so enthusiastic and even wanted to help write a grant. The city was into it. They approved the lease, and now we've taken off the sod. We've got some irrigation, and Nature's Best is putting it all in for us. So the guy who wanted to help in the neighborhood, who was key to the whole process, lives right on the corner and works for Nature's Best. They do community projects each year. This is their community project. So all these wonderful pieces came together to make this community garden. Now, you might ask, what is a community garden? It's where you actually rent plots. We'll have about 14 or 15 in here. We provide, Garden City Harvest runs the garden, so we'll provide water, tools, everything you need except for the seeds pretty much. Even some folks who know what they're doing to help you out if you need. And you rent the plot, you grow the food, you water it, you weed it, and you participate in the community. So they're beautiful community places. The other fantastic thing about this garden is it's a place for everyone in the community, everyone in the neighborhood to come. There'll be a picnic bench or two. There'll be places for people to sit and really enjoy this gorgeous space. So we are very blessed with not only the funding from the Office of Neighborhoods, but the enthusiasm of Neighborhood Council.
Will it have a fence?
It's going to have a fence because there's lots of deer. The question was, is there is going to be a fence? There will be a 6-foot fence. It will open ideally on the first week of June if everything goes according to plan.
Is the guy on you said the owner, is that the guy with the chickens?
It's the guy, the owner, or the guy who's helping us from the community, who's the head of the leadership team now, lives on the corner, and he has chickens. Yes. Yes. Good note, Gwen. Willard is going to be an integral part of this whole process. The students one of their classes are making a mosaic that will go on the garden shed. I have a picture of the garden shed I can pass around. It's going to be gorgeous. They're they're using all sorts of materials from Home Resource and that kind of thing. So, they've already started their designing, and we'll be putting it in June. Any other questions?
Just have you go whatever way you want because we're...
Greetings, my name is Gwen Hoppy. I live in the riverfront area. I'm also a art teacher at Willard, and we're heading over to a mural that's done on Nutritional Labs wall, and it was done as a collaboration between Willard students, artist Stephanie Frostad, the riverfront neighborhood, and various agencies like the Public Arts Committee and Office of Neighborhoods. We got a grant that came about because our leadership team looked around trying to find what could beautify the neighborhood, and Nutritional Labs very nicely offered their wall as the canvas, and Willard students got together. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. All right, she's a great bus driver. And you'll see the mural over on the wall. That's 32 feet of it. It's a native plant theme. Nutritional Labs deals with native medicinals. So we thought we would add to that. And we have round 2 coming up with our second grant. And I passed a sheet of paper that has just kind of a close-up. So you see the upper one here is the colorful one, and the lower one is phase 2, which is a riparian theme, and it's going to have a 9-foot heron on it. So and we're starting earlier this year, so and the community is welcome to join us. Maybe give the Office of Neighborhoods a call or call Willard if you'd like to help paint it. Even though Willard students are going to be doing it mostly during the day, sometimes there's a lot to do and we run out of time. The most fun is when we project the image at night, like 10 o'clock at night. And we will project it and trace it and then later go for painting. So, any questions?
The contribution from Nutritional Labs.
Oh, Nutritional Labs, well, they donated over $1,000 the first time. I think about $2,000 between painting their wall and sealing it. It has a graffiti sealer on it. So try as you may, you're not going to be able to add anything to our artwork right there. And also, they're contributing money for the second round and for materials, and we're really appreciative. And they hosted a really nice party in the fall for the community and Nutritional Labs and for Willard students to come by. So thank you. So stop by. Probably start in a few weeks. All right.
Hi, everyone. I have a little handout that we'll be passing back. Welcome to the Hive. It is a 40,000 square foot building that was a former lumber store for years and years, and the entire property is 4 acres, and there's an empty lot that is 1.5 acres behind the building. And I purchased this almost a year ago, and it will be a community learning center where all sorts of amazing things are going to happen. My mind just went blank. Can I steal?
Oh, you sure may.
So it's about gathering, cultivating, innovating, and creating. And it's open to all people, and especially focused on teaching people skills that are useful to help boost our local economy, to boost our health and well-being, to boost our sense of community. So it's about making things, reusing things. We'll have a dance floor for community to gather. We'll have co-working space. We'll have making space, workshop space. What else? There'll be space for workshops. Then on the back lot, we're going to do some mixed residential and some urban ag. Do y'all have questions? Yes.
What's going to happen to the farmer's market in the winter? Do you still have it?
You know,
Good question.
she asked what will happen for the winter market for next year. This is an absolutely uninsulated building. So we're going, and the wiring needs to be redone and the roof needs to be redone. So it's a massive build out. So we're going to do it in small stages. And by next winter, we're not exactly sure if that warehouse will be ready, but we'll find a space because it's been so wonderful having the market here. What else can I tell you? Does anybody else have another question? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it is very exciting. It's equally exciting and terrifying. Yes.
Lizzie,
Yes.
have have you been able to get any kind of grant money or community financial support?
Well, at this point, we're not a nonprofit yet, so we're looking at moving in that direction. So we're working with the Missoula College right now, and so we've gotten volunteer work through the students, so they're getting to, they tore off all the metal siding on the building, so they're getting some hands-on experience, and they'll be helping out with some of the build out that we're going to be doing, and we're looking at getting some tax credits. I've had a very long day. What is it? Oh, working with MCDC to get some of the new market tax credits. Thank you. That's right. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at, we're going to put in a geothermal heat pump as part of our, so everything we're doing here is hopefully either recycled, repurposed. So we're looking at all kinds of alternative energy. We have some PV photovoltaic panels that we're going to be putting up on parts of the roof that we're getting from the Missoula College. And so we're looking at all kinds of alternative energy, and we'll get some tax credits for that as well. And we'll get to the grants. We're just still trying to get our feet under us and create a foundation and a structure to work with. Was there another question?
Lizzie, would
Yes.
you talk a bit more about your vision of community building and the educational component also? Like the teaching picture.
Yes. So we would like to, well, if it was up to me and I was really queen of the universe, I would create an alternative school here that was middle school through mid to late 20s that was all about hands-on learning, and it would be a hybrid of, it would have all sorts of income streams that would help fund the school, so it's not a private school and it's not part of MCPS. So the learning is, we hope to have a commercial kitchen that's a teaching facility for students. We hope to have a greenhouse in the back where students can learn to grow food. We hope to have a sewing, textile space. We hope to have a workshop space where people can learn welding and woodworking, and so real skills. We will have a dance floor where physical education and embodiment will be part of the education. We have, everyone is a teacher of some sort. We all have gathered so much knowledge, so we're trying to figure out how to plug elders, those of us that have collected a lot of knowledge, and give it to the youngins who are gonna go into this world that needs a lot of knowledge and a lot of assistance. Is that it? Thank you. Yes. So our information is here on this sheet. Call us, email us, check us out on Facebook. Yeah, enjoy your night. Thank you.
I'm Sherry McLaughlin. I'm with Heart of Missoula, and with me today from Heart of Missoula are my husband Will McLaughlin and Chris McAdams. I'll start talking now before we get to our neighborhood because I want to cover a lot of things. So the first stop is going to be the site that's proposed for a student housing project is designed for students. It will be done by a private real estate company that also does other apartments in town, Fair and Realty. They announced that it would be a 500 bed unit. That's not 500 units, that is 500 beds. And they haven't decided really whether it will be rented by the unit, so you'd have 2 or 3 bedrooms with each unit, or whether they will rent each bedroom separately and have shared facilities. The actual number and type of unit is still being decided. They have to do their feasibility analysis and complete all that. They've said when that is finished, that they will be sharing their plans with the public at a meeting sometime this summer. This building, although it's aimed at students, is not a low rent building. There will be many amenities in the building, including on-street parking, an on-site, it'll include inside parking on the site. It will be an on-site manager, a property manager, and on-site maintenance. The thought here is that there are many students who don't have a lot of choices, who could afford better choices if they were offered, and they're currently having to go away from the university to get those. So the impact on the supply presumably will have a positive impact on rents, and at the same time it will bring 500 people who will spend money in the downtown area, hopefully. The completion is scheduled for May of 2017. Behind the student housing project is Kiwanis Park. Kiwanis Park is a primarily CDBG funded renovation of the park along the river, which is really a regional park as well as a neighborhood park. We aren't going to actually go to Kiwanis Park. You can't get there very well except by walking or by bike. They will be replacing the shelter, the restrooms, and the playground facilities. They have tennis courts there and a basketball court, large open space. They won't be doing anything to that. They will be enhancing the connection to the riverfront trail, which goes right along the river. The emphasis on in the design, which was shared with the neighborhood, is, I guess the official terminology is crime prevention through environmental design. For instance, the restrooms now face an area where they're not really visible from the park, and they'll turn around so that you can see anyone going in or coming out. There'll be infrared sensors in the restrooms so that you'll know if a person is in there. A policeman, even going by, could see whether the light is on or not. And many of these enhancements will hopefully encourage more use of the park. The park work is supposed to start this season and will also be finished this season. I want to mention that the input for this project was tried in another CDBG-funded park. It's a survey online that people can go and look at different configurations of playground equipment, shelters, and other things, and express their choices, and also suggest other things that might be included in the park. And I guess I've finished everything I want to say before we've actually gotten to the site.
So you'll show us the site.
Yeah, we'll be getting to the site. I'll point. It's the parking lot that was associated with Interstate Bank, so you probably will recognize
by
it.
the library.
Yes, and my husband is pointing out as we are driving along here. I should mention that some of us on the bus attended a presentation this week on the conversion of Main Street and Front Street from one-way to two-way. Oh yes, here we are. You can see Kiwanis Park clear at the end, and this is the actual site of the apartment complex. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so this is private, right? It's not part of the university.
The site that we just passed, the parking lot.
Is that from the park bond, the Kiwanis Park improvements?
No, the Kiwanis Park improvements are primarily funded with community development block grant funds and some funds from Kiwanis and other sources. CDBG funds are intended for low-income improvements in lower-income neighborhoods, which this qualifies for. Yes.
Why do you need to replace the picnic road? It's wonderful.
The question is whether we need to, why, the question, this is frustrating me. The question is why we need to replace the picnic shelter. The picnic.
You want to sit down and try it? Sit down.
Sorry, I
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. The picnic shelter is being replaced because the restroom was associated with it in a single building, and there was some the structures supporting the roof had worn over time. I can't remember exactly why. So that was primarily the reason. The structure that will replace it will look a lot like the one that is currently there. Now I'll stand up to get any more questions. Then I'll sit down.
So, even though this is designed for students, you're saying that they can't restrict it to students?
My understanding of fair housing laws is that you can't. The question was, even though it's intended for students, you can't restrict it to students. My understanding of fair housing laws is that you really can't say you must be a student in order to live here. But it's certainly designed for students, and most people, especially if they rent by the bedroom, are probably going to be students who want to use that facility. Other questions? Okay. Now we are headed across Madison Street. This is where you will see that some of the major changes if the main and front are converted to two-way, because this long connecting road would disappear and become a green space. Main Street would still be a right in and right out, but Front Street would have a light at the intersection so you could actually go across to the other side and reach Chris McAdams' house, the Chamber of Commerce, and some of the other things that are located down there on Front Street much more easily. Were there any questions about that?
When will that happen?
The funding for this project is not in place. The design is the first stage. The comment period on that is still open, and I think you can just go to the city's website and access the comment space. And then there has to be final engineering. This is still just the concept design that is being developed. And at this intersection, you would then be able to go straight ahead and turn right on Front Street as another means of accessing the university. The thought is that with Missoula College being built at this site that we're about to go to, that there will be a lot more traffic in this end of Broadway than there used to be. So I'll talk about the Missoula College. I think most of you know that Missoula College is a two-year technical school that is designed for training for specific workforce needs like welders, nursing, and those kinds of programs. The current location is on the south side, and you're probably aware there was a lot of controversy about where a new building would be sited. The thought is that at this location, it would be would enhance the redevelopment efforts here on East Broadway. You should be able to see trucks entering, and there's a big pile of dirt there. You can see the construction is underway. It started in March, and this first phase, which is just kind of the foundation, is being finished. It'll be a 3-story building and then a kind of a walkout basement, so it's 4 stories, 100,000 square feet. I'm not exactly sure how many students will be using it. There's apparently an osprey nest here someplace that they're protecting and hoping that the
right
nesting cussle comes back.
straight ahead by the river is the osprey nest in camera.
Oh, I see, but I do not see a bird there, so I don't know if they've come back or not.
Yep.
You can see that there's a lot of multifamily housing in this area. So the site that we are headed for is Hellgate Park, which is located adjacent to the cobblestone housing. Hellgate Park is Hellgate Park. Hellgate Park.
Change somehow the volume's got to change without the squeal. We can't hear that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think it turns around, it's going to get feedback from the speaker. That's why the squeal. So people got to face forward, but the volume's got to be up.
She's got to face forward.
No, you have to face forward, but maybe he can turn the volume
Can you
up
turn the
now.
volume up now? We'll try something different.
All right.
Well, we're passing the location for Hellgate Park right on your right here. This was funded from a grant from our friendly neighborhood program, and the neighborhood is, can you hear in the back now? The neighborhood was heavily involved in the design of the park. It's a neighborhood park, but again, it's also a regional park because of the access to the river. And again, you had the design concerns to make sure that there was security there and there would be eyes on the park facilities at all times. Further down, in fact, it looks like we might be turning around here, the location of another neighborhood park in the Ben Hughes neighborhood, otherwise known as Easy Street. There's another river access and a trail to that. It's very informal and has become eroding the riverbank. So they'll, with another neighborhood grant, they'll be doing improvements there. So are there any questions about those parks?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. So if I sit, is that the idea? Sit and face forward. All right. I'm here to talk about the intended intersection improvements at the I-90 interchange. But since we're going past it, on your left is some new sidewalk, which was installed by the city about 2 summers ago. This is part of the, this is a section of road that had no sidewalk. There have been fatalities on it. It's really the last link until the edge of town. And it was made possible in no small part because of the sidewalk subsidy program that the council adopted, which made these long frontages feasible for owners like the condo association to put in. So we get to the interchange. This is a project that's been initiated by the Montana Department of Transportation in order to evaluate the adequacy of the off-ramps of the interstate. And what they determined is that they will, in 20 years, if you do a straight line projection of the traffic, be inadequate at rush hour, and therefore we must change them. And they brought this possibility to the neighborhood, and the neighborhood opted to request roundabouts instead of turn signals. Basically, the logic being that we didn't want to look like the Grant Creek interchange. And so they have, over the years, come back and forth to the neighborhood with different designs, and they've worked out a plan in which there will be a roundabout at each exit to the interstate, and it will allow a truck of the maximum length permitted by law to make the turn by mounting the apron, but will also keep traffic moving and provide enough capacity for the off-ramp to work through the future. The project will include a link between the new trail that goes behind the businesses on the north side of West Broadway, a bi-directional bike path on the west side of the road connecting up under the highway, and it'll be a bi-directional mixed-use path, so pedestrians and bikes sharing it. Be, I think, 10 to 12 feet wide, connecting up to the south side of the park that is just on the other side of the interstate, giving us a really quality bike ped connection from the Van Buren Bridge all the way up into the Lower Rattlesnake. There's still some things to be worked out with it. Construction is scheduled, I believe, for 2017 at this point is when the state has programmed the money. And the main questions remaining are the geometry of the turning radius and things like this. Right now there's a extra lane dedicated for right turning traffic that we'll be getting on the highway, and we're going to try and slow it down so that when people are coming up this side of the street on a bike or foot, they don't get hit by right turning traffic. Peter.
Jason, what park? Greenhouse Park?
Tom Green. I'll point it out to you as we go.
Okay.
right there with the tennis courts. And there'll be a little lane.
Okay, my name is Pete Lessica. I live in this neighborhood. 2 or 3 years ago, the city decided to rebuild Van Buren, which they did. And in between the sidewalks and the street, you can see these little green spots here. The city filled it in with dirt. It came up to weeds. We asked them to remove the soil and put in something decent. They removed the soil and put in new soil, and it came up to weeds again. So we asked the neighborhood for some funding, and we got $3,000. We bought a whole bunch of shrubs. The neighbors put the shrubs in. You can see islands of shrubs and all of that now. However, there's still some weeds in between the shrubs, and so we got another $1,000 from the neighborhood grant, and we're going to put some drought-resistant sod in there. The problem is, of course, that this neighborhood, there's a lot of rentals along the street, and so things aren't going to get watered. So everything that we put in is drought tolerant, and the next person's going to speak about the avalanche. We're passing a rock that is dedicated to the victims of the avalanche.
So that rock back there is dedicated.
Yeah.
So I'm Kathy Tonneson with the Lower Rattlesnake Leadership Team, and I think, we're at the location of the avalanche in February of 2014. There was a severe snow and windstorm in the Missoula Valley, and there was an avalanche that ran off of Mount Jumbo from the open space conservation lands, and it took out a house located over here on the right and buried 3 people, 1 child who was playing across the street and 2 people living in the house. There were first responders, but the neighborhood came in with lots of avalanche probes and found all 3 of the people who were buried, some of them for several hours. So there was a great outpouring of avalanche responders who came to help out. Unfortunately, one of the residents of the house did die later on. So yeah, and there's recreation going on up there off of Mount Jumbo. There's a paraglider. The other thing that I wanted to note about the response to this disaster was that the neighbors set up a fund for the surviving resident that was contributed to, and also the neighbors came together to go through the remnants of the house and find lots of personal items, artworks, journals, and then did extensive restoration of those items to return to the resident after the site was cleared. Just the addendum to that is that the Missoula Fire Department and Missoula County Office of Emergency Management held a training this February for first responders to deal with urban avalanches, which is not something people had thought a whole lot about until that event, which was about 1.5 years ago. So, who's next?
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. Next, we have Brian von Lossberg is going to talk about some pedestrian trailheads in the Rattlesnake on the way to the 10 Spoon Winery.
Thanks. Sort of odd to be looking forward, not looking at you all, but we'll make the best of it. I'm Brian von Lossberg. I'm the other Ward 1 City Council member. Used to have the pleasure with my wife Genevieve of living on Jackson Street, just over to the left here, parallel to the direction we're headed. We took advantage of a lot of the trails and recreation opportunities in the Rattlesnake, so I thought I'd just point out some of those. We've passed some of the lower access points to the Mount Jumbo trails. There's a number of streets along to the west to our right. Like I said, we just passed Cherry, Locust, Poplar, where there's access points to the Mount Jumbo trail system. Jumbo trail system and Mount Jumbo, if I've got the numbers right, this is thanks to the 1995 Open Space Fund, and I believe the city acquired 1,340 acres for Jumbo to the east, and then just shy of 500 acres to the west over on Waterworks, which is, like I said, the western portion, sort of boundary of the valley. As we head up here, another set of trails that we've passed over to the left is the Greeno Park Trail system that borders Rattlesnake Creek on both sides. Wonderful area in there. And then as we move a little bit further north, continuing with the Jumbo Trail system, you've got access further north at Lincoln Hills Road up to the Saddle. You've got the North Loop up north of the Saddle, and then the Saddle area itself, as well as the Backbone Trail that you can pretty much make out, or at least close to, that'll connect you all the way back down to the southern portion of the Jumbo Trail system, including the trail up to the L. One of the things that we really enjoyed doing when we were living on Jackson Street was occasionally seeing the elk up on Jumbo and literally pulling the spotting scope out and setting it up on the street and checking out the elk. They have been, while we're on that point, I should say, since the avalanche situation, there's been a lot more effort during the wintertime to properly sign and more extensive signage of the closures that exist on Jumbo during the wintertime. And actually this year, for the first time, there were some citations written to some folks in violation of those closures, but there's been a more concerted effort to, like I said, sign those, make people aware of them, and patrol them with some of the community service officers. And then lastly, I was just going to mention a couple more things. Everyone in this community is familiar with the Rattlesnake Recreation Area and the Wilderness Area. A whole wealth of the network of trails up there, the Sawmill Curry Trail system, the Spring Gulch Stewart Peak Trail set up, and then moving again over to the west, the Woods Gulch Sheep Mountain Trail. Also wonderful recreation areas in the summer, all through the year, summer, winter, fall, spring. And then finally, to the left, to the west, you've got the North Hills Trail System, Waterworks, and then some connecting trails over to the Moon Randolph Homestead. I think I've got it covered. Any questions? All right. Next stop is Ten Spoon, right?
Hello, in the bus.
Oh, you're going to have to turn around then.
There's Councilman Chilcote. How are you? Hi, neighborhood people. My name's Andy Sponseller. I'm the winemaker here at Ten Spoon, and I'll just give you a quick rundown on what's going up. There's Councilman Weiner as well. Okay. Anyways, I used to be a councilman, so I have to say howdy to the council people. At any rate, I'm growing grapes now, and my partner and I have been running the vineyard and winery here since, well, we've been growing grapes since '98 and making wine since 2003. And we like to think of ourselves as a community agriculture adventure. We do this for a living. It's not a hobby, I assure you. You can see that my hairline is moving back fast, so that attests to the fact that it's not a hobby. At any rate, we make about 4,000 to 5,000 cases of wine a year, and we grow, hopefully this year we hope to grow about 18 tons of grapes. When our new vineyards mature out front, we'll be growing about another 17 tons hopefully out there, and altogether we should have over 30 tons when the whole thing's mature. So it's a serious agricultural endeavor, and we right now are sweating the frost, so we're going to be budding out in about 2.5 to 3 weeks, and We hope to have several frost measures in place. Our neighbors are used to the helicopter now when it comes in, and this year we're going to use great big 10-foot row covers and drop those over the top of the trellises to try and have even a better yield. Yeah, it's an agricultural installation here, and we do tonight's wine tasting night. It's too bad that you all can't come in for a glass of wine, but this is a nice time to drink because you don't have to drive. But at any rate, we have just a quick note about the business. We're selling wine. We're a Montana winery. We sell a little bit of wine outside the state in Puget Sound and Washington State, Wyoming. Sell a little bit over the internet. But for the most part, we're a Montana winery, and that makes us local regional, which we're pretty darn happy about from a sustainability point of view, although we're a pretty large state. So might argue it takes a little bit of gasoline and diesel fuel to ship our products around the state. We have 6 distributors in the state, and that's our focus, is doing Montana products. This year, I was just talking with my administrative assistant, we're going to have 5 wines that are actually grown in Montana. Range Rider and St. Pepin from our vineyard, Red and White, and Flathead Cherry Dry and Cherry Blossom from the lake. And this year we're going to do a Montana Rosé as well. So we're pretty proud of that. We do bring in some other fruit from other places, like pears from the Yakima River Valley, and grapes from the Columbia River, and also from the Prosser area over on the Yakima River. So our goal is to have well over, I'd be thrilled if we could do all of our production out of Montana grown products, and that is our goal. So we're slowly working towards that. And just for your information, we're submitting our petition to the federal government next week for an American viticultural area called the Missoula Valley AVA. And we'll be the first, if it's accepted and by the people at the federal level, we will be the first American viticultural area in the northern Rocky Mountains, which is a big deal, actually. So we've got there's several small vineyards in the valley. A good friend of mine has a 3-acre vineyard out on the river at 9 Mile, and it's a commercial vineyard, and there's a vineyard right up on top of the hill here that Mike Schutte had, and hopefully the people that buy his house will pick up with that and work with us on that vineyard. So actually, Missoula has some future, I think, as a growing area, especially as things warm up, which is a real bummer on some levels, but it could be good for viticulture and agriculture. So
it takes 5 years for a vine to produce?
The question is, how many years does it take? This lady speculated it takes 5 years. That's about right. It takes 5 years to get a vine to where it's putting off maybe 80%, but I'd say it's 7 years. A good solid 100%, about 7 years. So it's not a down and dirty deal. You have to have a very serious amount of commitment. Go ahead.
You want us to come and help you harvest the grapes again this year? Are we doing that?
This lady, the lady up front here asked if we needed help harvesting our grapes, and yes, every year we have a volunteer harvest, and every year since we've done this, people in Missoula have been kind enough to help us pick our grapes, and that's been a great help to us. So especially in a year when we have like 15 tons of grapes, lots of hands make the work a lot easier. So yes, we'd love to have anybody that wants to come and snip grapes for a couple hours, come and snip grapes, and we'll feed you lunch.
Why don't you mention that people can come up and have a glass of wine? A lot of people don't know about that.
Well, I just hate to be shamelessly commercial, you know.
That's okay, be shameless.
Okay. I'll be shameless for just about a minute here. We have tasting hours on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday now until the end of October, and we have music on Friday and Saturday nights, and we have all local musicians, and I think some rather fine ones at that. And you can buy our products in just about every grocery store in town, I think, now. So, yeah. Well, listen, it's great to see a full bus of people taking this tour, and some good friends of mine, one of whom is deceased now, got the neighborhood council started, Lynn and Judy Smith, and they were #1 proponents. Lynn and Judy and I worked on growth management in the late 90s, and a big component of that was neighborhood councils moving forward, and I'm proud to say that our council was big in establishing neighborhood councils, so I got to tell you, it makes me feel really good to see all you folks out here doing the neighborhood thing seriously. So if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but great to see you.
Thank you, Randy. I'm sure everybody will be up next week to come visit.
Have a good evening. Genevieve from Garden City Harvest. And I should also say from the north side, west side, specifically the north side, I am indeed Brian von Mossberg's wife, which is a delight. So Garden City Harvest partners with the Environmental Studies program. Raise of hands, any Environmental Studies program alumni on the bus? Oh yeah, there are definitely some. Fabulous program. They supply us with, well, not supply us, that's an awful way to put it. They partner with us so that they can use the Peas Farm as an outdoor classroom, and help work the fields. So every spring, fall, and summer, we have EVST students that come out and work with us. So it's called the EVST and Garden City Harvest Peas Farm. And before I get too far into the Peas Farm, let me tell you a little bit about Garden City Harvest and what we do. Garden City Harvest's mission is to build community through agriculture. And we do this obviously through the Community Gardens program, which you heard a little bit about before. But we also do several things at the Peas Farm that it's sort of a hub for us. But Garden City Harvest works to make sure anyone in Missoula, any walk of life, any income level, has access to fresh local food. As you all probably know, fresh food and locally raised food can be really hard to access if you are struggling to make ends meet with rent or any kind of home payments and childcare, yada yada. Like all of that stuff adds up, and food often is the one to get the boot, which then leads to health problems either right then or later on in life. So we're very dedicated to helping people get that access to fresh local food. We also are very, you can see a school garden actually right on our right, the Rattlesnake School Garden. We help educate folks about local agriculture. So the Willard School Garden, the Rattlesnake, now we are helping with curriculum there. We helped install a lot of those school gardens around town. I think there's another one coming up too that you guys will see. Someone else is talking. I think Gwen, are you talking about that? Yeah, maybe not. In any case, you're going to see other school garden at Lowell. So we do some education around at Garden City Harvest as well. I will also mention about the Peas Farm. We are really lucky to now have a 40-year lease thanks to the city, the wonderful work of the city council, and the Missoula County Public Schools, who owns the land. It's going to lease it to the city, and the city is going to turn around and lease it to us. And this is really, really exciting for all of Missoula and the quality of life we all enjoy. So Garden City Harvest, we have the Peas Farm as well as, I think it's now almost 20 sites. and over 20 acres of urban agriculture in Missoula. So that includes 4 urban farms. So the Pease Farm is just one of our family of 4. We have them dotted in many neighborhoods around Missoula. The Pease Farm is 10 acres, so which makes it the largest of all of our farms. We also have River Road, which we just recently bought over in, I think it's the Riverfront neighborhood. And we have almost, 10 community gardens. One of them is a therapeutic garden. And I think it's 7 now school gardens. Jane suggested talking a little bit about funding for our programs. We have a pretty nice split between funding from a lot of really great local individual support from donors. It's about 1/3 of our income. We also have a large number of CSAs, which are community-supported agriculture shares. That allows members of the community, we have lots of them available right now, if anybody would like to join one of our farms. It's basically a subscription to a farm where you can get a share of vegetables that you pick up each week at the farm, so you get a little farm time. A lot of families can then come up and spend time at the farms, as well as picking up their vegetables. And you also end up then investing in the farm. So with your money, we can then buy seeds and start at the beginning of the season, have money for propane, all that kind of stuff, and then pay you in the benefits all summer long, the 18 weeks. We go all the way through almost to November. And you get a pumpkin, which is fantastic. A nice carving jack-o'-lantern, as well as tons of squash. I'll also mention that with each of our farms, we grow food for places like the food bank, the Poverello Center. All of the youth homes now are cooking. The kids that live there are cooking with the food. So that's another part of our mission by doing the CSAs, by asking folks in the community to pitch in, we can then turn around and offer food, grow food specifically for these folks in need. And the other 1/3 of our program funding comes from grants and events like the farm party, which happens every summer right here at the Pease Farm. And we're pulling in, so I will continue the discussion outside. So you guys, we're going to start heading this way.
Coming up here on this?
Yes, I did warn her. Not until today.
I was drinking. I gotta grab some.
When you do that,
You can just gather up over here. Don't be afraid, I won't bite. I promise.
Hi, Matt.
Patricia. Hi, Ray.
Okay, you guys, so this is the Pease Farm. It is a farm for the community, so anyone can come out here during daylight hours, please, to check it out. We've got chickens. Often in the summertime we have pigs. And And we have, of course, many, many vegetables. This is a hub for Garden City Harvest for many of our programs. From our, I was mentioning a little bit about our education program. We have over 3,000 students from Missoula Public School. Can you guys hear me okay? I know it's a little loud. I'll try and project. Over 3,000 students come up here from Missoula County Public Schools, and any school in Missoula can come up here and take a tour as long as we have room in our time schedule. So 3,000 kids, parents, teachers come up here to learn about the farm. They get a taste of whatever's growing. If something's growing, they come in the spring and fall. Then all summer we're doing kids summer camps. So we have kids coming out in that way too. And then we also go into schools during the year. So that's off this campus. But we have a Farmer in the Classroom program now that runs. So we run all year long with that program. Another one you might have heard of, it was in the newspaper a lot last summer, was Youth Harvest. And that's kids from Willard, from the Youth Drug Court, a lot of different places throughout Missoula, mostly teens who come up here and actually learn some job skills. Some of them are working off jail sentences. And at the same time learning some pretty serious life skills that allow them to go out into the world. And we find that throughout their lives we hear back from them about how this experience really impacted them. And this is a place where, you know, people from all over the community are coming up here to kneel down together in the rows and weed and plant carrots, and they end up having conversations across those rows with each other. You know, families coming up here with their kids, so the kids can learn about the agriculture that's going on here and where their food comes from. We have the Youth Harvest kids, and then we also have these students coming up here from the Environmental Studies program. We have kids often that just find us, or volunteers who maybe just don't quite fit in the community, and they find a place here that feels really whole and welcoming, and they end up coming back almost every day throughout the summer to grow with us. So the Youth Harvest also runs a mobile market that they harvest food from here and then go to senior housing and family housing that's mostly folks with low income, and sell at sort of farmers market style at these different sites. And they build relationships with these folks. It's an intergenerational thing, and so they're actually getting compliments from a lot of the folks about their vegetables, where throughout their lives, folks who are older than them are generally sort of shaking their finger at them and often reprimanding them for something, rather than saying, oh my gosh, look at that squash, and how should I cook that, you know? And these kids are experts. It's kind of an amazing thing for them, and a beautiful thing to watch. I tell you, I am really lucky to have the job that I have and be able to actually talk to people about these kinds of experiences, and to work for this organization. It's pretty great. We also have, as I mentioned on the bus, a CSA. Over 90 families in Missoula have CSA shares. They come right up to the barn each week in the summer and pick up their vegetables, or they can do it at the office. They get enough to feed a family of 4 to 6, and it's a wonderful revenue stream for us, as well as a way to get to know your farmer, get to know your farm.
How much is it there?
It's $500 for the season, so that's 18 weeks of vegetables. I think it averages between $1 to $2 or $3 a pound, so it's a pretty good deal. And they're darn good vegetables. Any questions before we can't go all the way to the greenhouse, which I really wanted to do, but it's kind of a long walk with 50 people. But we'll walk a little bit out in the fields and talk a little bit about the actual agriculture that's going on out there. Because it is, even though it's so early in the season, it's happening.
Where do the pigs go in the winter?
Okay, we're gonna stop here. Last stop. And while you're waiting, I really do recommend doing a little stretching. A little bending. We have to go back in that bus soon, so. So these are the fields where folks are going to be working starting now, pretty much. Things are already getting planted. This white sheet is called remay, and it's covering plants that are actually underneath there growing. And then you can see that down there, that's our greenhouse. It's growing almost all of the plants that aren't getting direct seeded in there for this farm, which is about 10 acres. And then also all of our school gardens, we grow all the starts there as well as the community garden that we use as a therapeutic garden that we plant on our own on St. Patrick's land. So that's housing a lot of precious not merchandise, but vegetables over there. Some of them will be merchandise and sustenance for us for the season. And you can hear the chickens over here. I think we have them in 2 places right now. What else? The hoop house is also going to be filled. Right now, it's kind of filled with. It's a storage area, but soon it will be filled with. By the end of the month, in fact, with tomatoes and zucchinis. Tomatoes will be growing up some string, and the zucchinis will be leafing out in all their glory. So it's been cooking since I think late February, that greenhouse. We have one other one that grows all the other starts for our farms. Patrick and Kim, am I missing anything? Where are you?
I think you got most of it.
Yeah? Anything about Garden City Harvest? No? Any questions about the Peas Farm? The farm party is always the 3rd Thursday of August, so mark your calendars now. We'll be having it again at Dave and Amy's across here. It will be great music, food, and it's a wonderful time to come out and really enjoy the farm.
Is Peas after a person's name, or how did they name it?
It's an acronym, and God, I hate when people ask me this question because I never can think of it on the spot. It's the program, Patrick, you listening? Program for Ecological
Agriculture and Society.
There you go.
Thank you.
I should know this by heart. But it's just the Peas Farm, you know? Any other questions?
There's some peas growing.
Martha, have I missed anything? Okay. Well, thank you guys for coming out here. This is a fantastic day and a great group. So
Thank you.
Jane, do you anything else, or can we get back on the bus?
Here's another one of those trailheads Brian was talking about. Access to the city North Hills. It's right along this fence line where you can see the bike rack and the little sign. I am here to talk about what's at the bottom of the hill, but I'm going to start talking now. And what's at the bottom of the hill is the Rattlesnake Gateway Project, which is basically, it started as a vision of the...
Could I go in here there real quick?
Sure thing.
All right, you're good.
Okay. It started as a vision of a neighborhood association in that vicinity of town, which is now part of the Heart of Missoula Neighborhood Council. But they, with Neighborhood Council grant support, developed a vision for the area, and with volunteer labor over the years, made improvements such as they could with volunteer labor, including what you'll see is a big, large planter on some vacant area between what is now the sidewalk and the creek. At the time that they had this vision, there was no sidewalk, no landscaping, no curbs, and it was basically a big old vacant patch of land. So small improvements made incrementally over time, a big vision that involved a lot of infrastructure and no clear way to fund it. And then, because they had a plan and they were shovel ready, when the stimulus package happened in the Recovery Act, we were able to construct what the neighborhood's vision had been for a long time before that. And so what you'll see now is a really nice space, a connector between the Lower Rattlesnake, the North Hills, and the east end of downtown. is a three-way stop. That's all I got for you.
The speed limit's 30.
The speed limits in the Rattlesnake are 30, and let me tell you, that was no easy feat. Because the speed limits up here used to range up to 45 miles an hour, including on that stretch where the winery is. And if you tell a transportation engineer that you think the speed limit should be slower than they have already made it, they are going to tell you that you're wrong. And it took years of the Rattlesnake insisting that there should be a uniform and lower speed limit for the Rattlesnake before finally their prayers were answered. So you can get it if you really want it, but you must try, and try. Up here on the on my left and everybody else's right is the Waterworks Trail, Waterworks Hill Trailhead, which is one of the most heavily used in the city. You can generally find it lined with cars, and there's usually some bikes chained up. Plenty of people walking in. This connects over to the other side of Waterworks Hill. You can get onto Orange Street. You can also walk to the Moon Randolph Homestead, which is part of the city's open space holdings. This is the brand new sidewalk that the neighborhood council dreamed of for so long. This is the speed trap. This split rail fence and the planter that you see over here, this is all stuff that didn't exist, as well as the infrastructure along both sides, the bike lane, and the safe crossing area. So it's a big improvement. Yes.
So that plant bed doesn't get any extra water, does it?
It is, we had the help of Giles Thalen, who has a natural plants landscaping business, and designing that. To my knowledge, it doesn't get any extra. It's certainly not irrigated. It might get some hand watering at critical times of the year, but it's basically a xeriscape native plant. And that used to be a weed lot. I mean, and now we've outcompeted the weeds.
This is Sherry McLaughlin again. Hope this works better this time. Can you hear me? Now this is East Alder Street. I chose this street as a spot to drive down because it's a really interesting little street. I thought maybe some of you hadn't seen it before. And you'll notice a variety of housing. Some of it is older bungalows. This is an older area of the city, and some of it is quite new. I guess the controversy over the new and the old together is one of the reasons why a downtown master plan was finally initiated a few years ago. I wanted to talk about housing in the heart of Missoula neighborhood in general, because our next stop is also housing. We have about 1,800 units in the downtown. It's hard for people to remember that people actually live here. Only about 5% of them are owner occupied, so obviously we have very heavy rental neighborhood here. 40% of the units are income restricted, which means not necessarily low income, but some limitation on how high the incomes can be. Back to back with this, we'll turn around and come back on East Pine Street, which is the historic district. You can see some of the more modern infill houses on this block, including one that's for sale.
Do you want to go east on Pine down here?
Yes, that'd be fine. Actually, I could talk about this intersection while we're going by it, and we may come back. This is the site to your right for the art park that the Art Museum is working on in conjunction with this business across the street. I talked to Laura Mellon today about the progress on that park, and she shared with me some designs that we have a few copies of, which my husband will be passing around. There's not enough for everybody, but it is a way for you to take a look. So this is the historic district. It includes historic district is protected under federal statute, so you are limited in what you can do with federal funds in one of these areas, but any local restrictions would have to be done locally, and my understanding is they have not.
How far do you want to go down here?
Turn around anytime. This house on the left with the big columns is
Knights of Columbus.
now the oldest house in Missoula is on this street, and also a couple of houses, a house designed by A.J. Gibson, who apparently did several structures in Missoula, including Sentinel Hall. Or whatever they call it now. University Hall. Oh, yeah, yeah. So I'm coming back to this intersection with the art park. The design is completed. It was delayed because there were concerns over parking and security and maintenance. Those issues have been worked out. Some of the funding is in place, but more fundraising will take place before the park is actually started. But they do expect to start construction this fall. So any of you have seen any of those plans? Do you have any questions? Yes.
Will the bus route still come down Pine Street?
I'm not aware of any plan to change the bus routes. Of course, with the change in the one-way pair, there may be some adjustments in downtown bus routes in any event, but this will still be an open intersection. Okay. I mean, you can still drive through it even though it's a little narrower than it was before. You might notice, I don't know if you can tell on the plan, there is a plan for an outdoor toilet facility here. I think these are called Portland Loos, I guess, and have been tested in the city of Portland and found to be very serviceable.
I didn't know how you could have something different here. What was that location before? I mean, you know, nothing.
Is there another brewery yet?
There is a new brewery that's going in and out by Ring.
Thank you, Sherry. Next, we're going to North Side, West Side, and Heidi's going to come up and talk to us.
All right, guys, I'm Heidi. I live on the north side. So the first place that I'm going to talk to you guys about is the ZAC. How many of you guys have ever been there? It's the Zootown Arts Community Center. All right, so a couple of you guys know where it is. It's tucked, I think it's on First. The place where all aspects of art, from creation to experience, are housed in a single community space. So they have classroom space, a gallery space, a shop. They have artists that rent studio space. This is Andy Spatenka design right here. He rents one of the spaces there. And they also have summer camps, school, after school classes, and classes for adults. So do you guys have any questions about that? No? Okay. Oh yeah, and they have a second, so the downtown has the first Friday gallery openings where you can walk around, so they do a second Friday gallery opening. So if you ever are looking for something to do on a second Friday, you can stop by there. Starting a little early. Okay, keep talking. Yeah, I've got a long list of places to talk about. So when I first moved to Missoula, which was in 2009, the ZAC was one of the very first places that I got to know because they had a Vista at the time. My husband was a Vista at the time at MUD. And so I actually was their shop intern for 6 months and got to set up some of the shop space and put the mission statement on the wall. That was me. And it is kind of hard to find. So we're going to loop around. many of you probably know where the Kettle House is. It is. Oh, goodness. So it is 2 buildings to the east of the Kettle House. I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the pocket park that's down the street from the ZAC. And I'll point out the ZAC when we go past. So about 12 years ago, I think it was written into the neighborhood plan that there should be a pocket park by the pedestrian bridge. And that about 6 years ago, I think people really started working on it in earnest. Whoa! So we'll be passing the ZAC momentarily. And you can have birthday parties there. You can do all sorts of fun stuff. Oh, paint your own pottery studio. I forgot that one.
Glass fusing.
Glass fusing. You name it. Oh yeah, the print station. It's your one-stop shop for all sorts of art entertainment. Alright, so the ZAC is right here, and there's this cool public arts project that's been going on where you can say what you want to do before you die. That's been here for, I think it's been there for a year or so now.
Anybody
It was downtown for a while. Alright, so about 2 years ago now, the trees were planted on the west side of the pedestrian bridge. And one of the things that we really would like to do as a neighborhood leadership team is get lighting all the way from the pedestrian bridge all the way down to the greenway to the other end where the parking is for the railroad. I don't know if you guys have ever walked down it at night, but it is dark and it is scary. So that's kind of what we've identified as our #1 priority for the neighborhood. We have no idea how we're going to make that happen. So if anyone has any funding suggestions or would like to work on this project with us, that would be amazing.
I have a question.
Sure.
Are the elevators still functional?
You know, I don't know if they've ever been functional. Jane, do you know? They were? Okay.
Here's the pocket park.
So yeah, this is the pocket park right here. And then the trees and the park area is maintained in part by one of the neighbors that lives across the street. And then here, this entrance right behind me is what it's just called the Greenway. It's a bike walking multi-use path just along the railroad. It's great during the day, it's scary at night. So
where does it lead, the bike path?
So it just goes, do you know what street it ends on?
I didn't even know it was there.
So so it goes to the other end, almost to Scott Street, not quite. It's where there's a drive into the railway where the employees park. That's as far as it goes. Alright guys, we're about to drive past Little McCormick Park, which is this awesome little 1-acre size triangular park just down the street. And it's actually one of my favorite parks in town because you can let your kids ride all the way around the perimeter and see them the entire time. But what's really exciting about it is that we got new playground equipment. So it now has an amazing bucket swing. Which maybe an adult can fit into. I haven't tried it yet. Maybe 2 adults. And it has great trees, great shade. If you're looking for a place to have a picnic, this is it. It's actually heart of Missoula that this park belongs to. But I think we claim it a lot, so.
Your neighborhood coaching. Do you know what this building is right ahead of us?
From behind us there?
I think we're good.
Let's go that way.
This
Yep,
one right
all
here?
clear.
No.
Yeah, have you ever been?
I don't. Do you know what's like? I know it's where the roller derby girls used to practice, but I don't know what's happening to it now.
It's being turned
So if somebody else knows, pass it on.
right here.
All right, guys. So the next spot we're gonna drive by is the White Pine Sash site, which is actually across the Scott Street Bridge over on the north side. So I live really close to the White Pine Sash site. And if you guys have been following along with it, the record of decision was recently issued regarding the cleanup of the site at the beginning of February, end of February? Not sure, I can't remember. So what it used to be back in about 1900, the beginning of the history of this site is a little bit murky. It was a wood mill. And then in 71, it was built by Hutting, or bought by Hutting Building Products, who operated it until its closure in 96. And they left behind a little bit of a mess, leaving there's some heavy metal contamination and dioxin and PCPs on site. And when the original cleanup plan came out about a year ago, no part of the 40-acre site was going to be cleaned up to a residential level. And so I think the recent record of decision where about 10 acres of the site are going to be cleaned up to a residential level is a great example of what people can do when the neighborhood gets together and people write letters and, you know, make their opinions about what should happen in their neighborhood known. So it's just on the other side of this bridge. So right now it's owned by 3 different parties. The first section of it, which kind of is a pie shape, is owned by the same people that own the Zip Beverage warehouse, and there's quite a few businesses located right under the Scott Street Bridge. And then the middle section is owned by the city, which has the White Pine Sash Park, which opened, the playground equipment got put in last fall. It was open last fall, which has some awesome climbing structures and lots of things that spin, more spinning than you can imagine. And so there's I think a 3-acre area here is the park. And then this big swath of empty land is about 20 acres, and half of that is going to be cleaned up to a residential standard. So, yay! And thank you if you wrote a letter. I appreciate it.
This is impromptu. We just passed the city shops. That was what was behind that park. That's where you can bring your household hazardous waste each September for pickup. So don't be throwing away those aerosol cans, the lead-based paint, latex paint, deal with yourself, old gasoline, things like that. Clean out your shops and take advantage of this free opportunity to get rid of household hazardous waste in a free-to-you manner, sponsored by your water quality district, which I'm on. Okay.
I'm Kim Burke, can you hear me? With the Grant Creek North Reserve Neighborhood Council and also with the Grant Creek Trails Association. So we've been working on the bicycle trail that you're going to be seeing soon, but in this area that we're driving through now, there's going to be some changes with Costco building a new facility and something called Consumer Direct, I think, and Brett's RV is expanding, and so they've got an urban renewal district that's going to have a lot of planning involved with it, and the Grant Creek Trails Association is asking to be part of the process so that we can make sure that there are bicycle pedestrian accommodations along here, because this road will tie in directly to the Grant Creek Trail and bring us right downtown to the Scott Street Bridge if we get in on the early process. I don't know the boundaries or anything, and the people who are working with it aren't here today, but they'll be meeting with the MRA on the 30th of April to guarantee that we do have some input into the process.
My name is Dennis Muth. I'm with Grand Creek Neighborhood Council. I live down in Prospect in the southern end. And the Grand Creek Trail has been in the makings for probably a good 10 years. Actually, one of the upper folks was instrumental kind of in getting it started. He even preceded the Grand Creek Trails, Brian Walter. Actually, him and I walked it. He said, Dennis, we'd sure like to get a trail up there. So we walked it one Sunday. And then this led to forming the Grand Creek Trail Association. And we've had to go through many hurdles, and the city got involved. And the trail is almost done. I've walked it a couple times, not all of it. It starts at the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. We're not quite there yet. It's an 8-foot wide paved path with, it meets all the ADA, American Disability Act requirements. It has benches, it has, it's well signed, it'll have landscaping. It's a pretty impressive trail. All the neighbors are really enthused about it. We really didn't have any place to go that was improved, and it was especially tough for the upper Grand Creek people. They didn't have a common area like we did in the lower end, but our trails were all unimproved. And the other problem was one of the big reasons for getting the trail in was Grand Creek Road is awful narrow. It's just a 2-lane road. There's no bicycle lane. It's narrow right-of-way right next to the creek. There was really no way to put a sidewalk or a bicycle lane all along Grand Creek Road. So that's how the trail idea kind of got started. So it starts on the west side of Grand Creek, right off of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation Trail, and then it's into the lower Prospect, and then crosses Prospect Drive, and then wanders up through the wetlands, the floodplain. So the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is off to my left, and they have a good trail. It was needing some maintenance. In fact, they just repaved it today. And there is a trail that goes from the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation all the way down past the motel to Interstate 90. So right up on the left is where the Grand Creek Trail starts. You won't be able to see it through the trees here. And then just around the corner is Prospect Drive, the bridge to the Prospect subdivision.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to see the trail over here to the, well, there's a pile of dirt there. It's kind of hard to see. They're putting in the road crossing right now. So the trail is off through the woods through there, and then it crosses Grand Creek right up ahead. You can see the bridge here. There's a 90-foot bridge, so it crosses over here. That's where the trail comes. So it's really neat to be able to walk across the bridge. And so then this is the Charlotte Reed Margaret Sanctuary, and it was tough to get easements, and this was a holdup for a year, but we got the city and the mayor and everybody worked through it. Now there's one thing that's a problem here is everybody's concerned about safety. And I just talked to David from the Parks Department. The city is working on a chain guardrail or a cable guardrail along here. And they're doing a warrant study on it, and that'll be coming. That's one of the comments we get is people don't feel comfortable walking along that curve right there with the cars. What if a car slides off? So all of this trail, the land was donated by Washington, Dennis Washington and family, and they gave an easement to put the trail. So it's actually, there's an ad that runs as I can't remember whose ad it is. Yeah, Western Montana. They show this, and this is just beautiful. A lot of times you'll see deer out in here. But the trail was funded through the city and then some private money. There was some private fundraisers. The Grand Creek Trails Association raised somewhere around $200,000. So it wasn't all wasn't all taxpayer money. It was private money. People were so interested in getting this trail going. But it's going to be a real amenity for the people up here, for us down there. Eventually, they want this thing to go all the way to Snowball Road. Right now, I think they've got enough money to get it to the end of the city. Millette Lane, maybe. I think it's the city. Then the county's working on their part, because this is all city of Missoula. It's all on city sewer. That's why it's in the city. They are trying to get it going for 2016. Yeah, the trail now has to duck in this street. There was no other way to get up. So it ducks in there, goes along there, and then there's a switchback. And it'll come back up on top right here. And this little piece of trail was built before. Dirk Visser built his place up here, and he didn't want to be the area disturbed. He gave the right of way. So he went ahead and built the trail. So that portion, you know, was basically built by him. And so here it hooks back up. There's the trail right there. This is the part. This is the part that was existing, and it'll give these Grant Creek Hills an access, and they're putting in crossings here with truncated domes, and there'll be some signing. So, and the trail goes on up a ways. I think this is as far as we're going, right?
Yeah. I'm going to come out up there about a half a mile.
We're taking a side trip through this Grant Creek Hills neighborhood just so that we can turn the bus around, but we'll be coming out above the terminus of the trail in the city limits. But you'll get to drive along and see what they're doing to finish the trail to the city limits, and then next summer we hope the county will be able to extend it to Millette Lane, which is the Rankin subdivision, also known as Meadows. And that would accommodate almost all of the major subdivisions in Grant Creek. There's still a lot of people who live up above there, and we hope to go up to Snowball Road in the future, but that's going to be a different project. But there is some funding for extending all the way to Millette Lane. Some of the funding that we did get for this trail is from the Office of Neighborhoods. We got a $3,000 large project grant to put in mutt-mitt stations, leash lending stations, and the ADA approved benches that Dennis was talking about. And then we've also received a second large project grant to do some historical signage. So you'll be learning, as you go along the trail, you can learn about the founders of the valley and Richard Grant and who he was, and the Rankin family, and the homestead and the dairy farms and all of those things. But that project will probably be happening over the next year. We're just above the city limits here, so to our left is where the trail will finish this year, but it will eventually be coming along here and continuing on up another mile maybe. You can see some orange flags in the wood. They've already marked the route for the trail. And here's the construction. In addition to the City Office of Neighborhoods large project grant for the signage, we received a grant from the Preserving Missoula County History that's administered by the Historical Museum. So we'll be adding that to the city money to do the signage along the trail.
I'm still on the board of the Next, I'm going to talk to you about our intersection down here. I'm not sure whether any of you are up in Grand Creek during working hours or coming out of here when you've been skiing, but the traffic can be a problem here down by I-90 and Grand Creek Road and Reserve Street. So when we get a little closer, I'll kind of let you know what's happening and what we hope. There's somebody using the trail. Okay, there's about 600 or 700 homes up Grand Creek, and then there's all these new businesses off to your right. Well, there's some to the left. There's a new motel being built right now. So what we've got one lane coming out of Grand Creek here, and it feeds into 3 lanes. So I'm not sure why it was designed that way, but that's the way the highway department did it. So when in the morning the traffic will be backed up past here, it can be to the Elk, and then you might take 2 or 3 lights to get through. So what we're asking for is, what we'd really like is 2 lanes, 2 additional lanes. We would like 2 lanes feeding into Reserve Street and 1 right-hand turn lane. And it's been on the books, and I think we're getting closer. Actually, I think we agreed that we take the $50,000 fix would be just to paint another lane. But we really need the $250,000 one, which is to take this curb out here and take some of that curb out, make 2 lanes going in, and then a right lane turning right. And the city, it's been, I think they've got some funding now for it. The highway department has got their funding, but because part of it's in city right away and part of it's in MDT right away, it's going to take both parties to come up with the money to do the work. But the Grand Creek Council, we're really pushing hard for it. It's probably our top priority now that the trail is done. Thank you.
Coming up ahead, we're going to see a traffic signal box that was painted with a large project grant from the city Office of Neighborhoods, and it's on the corner by the Hilton Garden Inn. And the artists were selected in a jury process, and this artist, they did not know when they selected her that she was a 17-year-old homeschooled high school senior. And the theme of her box is music. You can see it up here on the left. And there's a guitar on one side representing folk music. There's a piano on one side representing the classical music. There's a saxophone on one side representing jazz. And the other side has an accordion because she plays the accordion. And her name is Tanner Thanes Molinix. And it's her first public artwork. So we have another, we have funding to do a second one, and that will be on the corner by Costco. And they're taking submissions for the project at this time. So that'll probably be done this fall.
Thank you, Grand Creekers. Next, we're coming up to Captain John Mullen, and Robin Crotty is going to come and talk to us.
Hello, I'm Robin Crotty. Captain John Mullen Council is named after Captain John Mullen, who was a soldier, explorer, and road builder in the 1800s. He's responsible for building the first through road from Walla Walla, Washington, all the way to Fort Benton. And that road now, I-90 now sort of mirrors that original road. That was the Captain John Mullen Road. We're turning now on to England Boulevard, and as you can see, there is a lot of shopping along Reserve here, and it doesn't look too bad right at this point, but there are some really major traffic challenges right at this intersection. And then we have had a lot of discussion about possibly needing a right turn lane or having some type of traffic solution to get traffic flowing near that intersection. I'm fairly new to Missoula. I have been told that the Pleasant View subdivision that we're entering is the largest subdivision in the state of Montana. It has 651 homes. It boasts affordable housing.
And last year, this area, I think 47 homes sold in this area in 2014, and there are currently 22 in various stages of sale. We will soon be moving along a new park area that's designated for Captain John Mullen, actually the Pleasant View homeowners. And it is a 5.5 acre park, which is slated, I believe, to begin some improvements this summer with putting in some play equipment and tennis courts possibly? No? Okay. It is part of the Parks and Trails Bond. Currently, for the last few years, when it's been vacant of improvements, the city has provided soccer nets, and we do see children practicing soccer, and also I believe some youth football practices have been occurring out at this park as well.
Can you mention again what's going to be done at this park?
Mostly playground equipment. I know that the HOA is also looking at putting in basketball courts, and they have, I guess it hasn't been decided whether it will be at this location or in another greenbelt area of Pleasant View. There it is right there. It'll be on your left. It's a really nice area with beautiful views. Is it your Yes, it is. Well, yeah, I think so. I think it's been well maintained. So as we move on, we'll be turning on Mary Jane, I believe, and one of the little features of Pleasant View is it has its own little store, and also Fidelity has a realty office right here in Pleasant View to assist with selling activity. And the community store is called Bailey's, and they sell coffee. You can get coffee and drinks and soup, and they also sell bakery goods from Black Cat Bakery and ice cream from the Big Dipper. They also have groceries, small amount of groceries available, like eggs and milk and that type of thing. And last year, you can also see there's a little park area there that the Homeowners Association completed last year, putting in swings and some play area for children. As we move on further, we'll be turning left up here and going by Hellgate School. Hellgate currently educates 1,400 children and is expecting to increase to about 1,600 by 2020. The legislature recently turned down a request to add a high school out in this area near the Hellgate School. One of the main charges of our council recently is to deal with traffic calming on England, which is the street we just turned off of, and we will be looking for solutions as we have more children going across England to enjoy the park. So this is the school on your right, Hellgate Elementary and Middle School. And as we come up to the end, I understand there has been some discussion or some interest from the community in putting in a traffic signal up here on the end of Glen and Mullen Road, which has not gotten very far at this point.
the Captain John Mullen Council area includes not only the area that we just saw, but also if you look in the other direction down Mullen, and it includes all of that area about 5 miles down the road to Ranch Club, if you're familiar with that area, and several of the subdivisions between here and Ranch Club. So it's quite a large physical area that the council covers.
Next, we're going to head over to the Burn Street Bistro, and we're going to have Heidi come up and talk to us and finish off the tour. Don't forget your evaluations. You're not getting off the bus until you hand it to me.
All right, guys, it's Heidi again from the north side and west side. So I'm going to go ahead and start talking about our next drive-by, which is going to be what I'll call the Burn Street Complex, for the lack of a better term. And what that includes is the building that used to be, I think, a FedEx warehouse. And that houses the Burn Street Bistro, the Missoula Community Food Co-op, the Western, let's see, they just moved in, the Western Montana Growers Co-op, as well as the NMCDC. So the NMC, which is the North Missoula Development Corporation, they own that whole block, which we'll see shortly, which includes the warehouse and then 17 units that are owned by the residents that live there. So part of what this NMCDC does is basically provide access to affordable housing on the north side and the west side. And one way they do that is that they hold the land that the buildings are on in a land trust. So the nonprofit owns the land, and that allows people to basically buy just the house and then rent the land and then eventually sell it to the next person at an affordable price. So it keeps housing affordable from one person to the next. So all the different businesses that are located on that part of land are all businesses that in one way or another meet the mission of the NMCDC, and part of that is to provide access to healthy food. So we have the co-op, which I'll give them some like advertising, I guess, for lack of a better term. So May is their membership drive. So if you haven't been there before, it's a great time to go and shop all month long. You don't have to be a member. You can just see what it is and experience it for yourself. They also have a commercial, well, there's also a commercial kitchen in the building, which is shared with the Burn Street Bistro, where they teach a program called Real Meals that's once a month, and you can go and take cooking classes. There was just one last night that I went to, and it was cooking with kids, and the folks from Garden City Harvest came and cooked with me and my kids and some other folks. It was great. We made spring rolls. They were delicious. There's also a cool little thing going on at the co-op that's in conjunction with the Clay Studio. So there's a little thing called the Blue Pine Gallery where we're displaying work. So this is the warehouse. So the co-op on this end, NMCDC has their offices on the inside. The Western Montana Growers Co-op is on the back side of the building. And then the bistro is here in this area. And you can rent it. It's a community space. Do you have a question?
Who did the mural?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry. It is a beautiful mural. And then, yes, these are the 17 units that are owned individually. You guys have any more questions about it? Yeah, I was telling you about the Blue Pine Gallery. So this month, it's my work, so you can go check it out. Yeah, I make pots. That's what I do. All right, so our next stop is going to be, we're going to drive past Lowell. And if you're not aware, good time to start being aware of what we're going to be voting on this fall, which is Smart Schools 2020. It's divided into two different bonds, is that right? Or two different things we're voting on, so high school and then K through 8. Lowell is one of the schools that is going to be addressed in the first 5 years.
The Zach and the Boys and Girls Club painted the Burn Street Bistro in 2013.
So it says the Zach and the Boys and Girls Club painted the Burn Street Bistro in 2013? Okay. The internet is amazing. So while we're talking about Lowell, I would like to invite all of you to our general meeting, which is on May 26th from 6 to 8. It's going to be at Lowell, and the principal is going to be doing a walkthrough to just kind of show you what the facility looks like. On the inside, you can see the outside when we're driving past. So, I am also the co-chair of the PTA, so I have to get that out there. And we're going to be looking at the school garden and the playground. So the school garden doubled in size in the summer of 2013. So we have a nice outdoor classroom space as well as garden beds. And it's a great example of a collaboration between lots of different actors in our community. So it's part Garden City Harvest, part, the schools, part PTA, and also the flagship program is a big part of the garden. So I think those are the four pieces. Yes?
What's a community medical center?
Sorry, I didn't hear. Can you say it again?
Is that medical center private or?
Oh, good question. The medical center. So the medical center is open to anyone who has a student at Lowell or is a caretaker, so a grandparent that has a Lowell student. And I believe also to Porter families. So if it was someone who used to go to Lowell, so anybody in, yeah, does that answer the question?
What is it, free?
So it's Lowell students and their family, Porter students and their families. It's part of partnership. So it's got a sliding scale, just like the Partnership Health Center does. And they have a doctor and also dentists. They're amazing. I use the dentist over there. It's the blue building. And they also have counseling services, and it's a nice holistic, healthy approach. And then I also wanted to mention the playground. So this is, the NMCDC also had a big part in starting this playground, and they have funds for its maintenance. And we're actually we're having a fun run in May at Lowell as a fundraiser, and part of what we're raising money for is to replace one of the slides. The kids don't like the bumpy slide. We're going to come up with something better. This is our school garden. So it used to be about half the size, but most of it was in shade, which isn't great for growing plants. So the shady part now has the stumps that you can sit on and listen to someone speak, and then we have all of these garden beds in the sunny side of the garden.
1909, huh?
Yes. This building was built in 1909, and it needs a lot of work. Do you guys have any questions? We have coffee talks on Friday morning. It's pretty nice. So the last spot that we're driving past is the new location of the Poverello, which is just down the street here. And it opened its doors here at this new location in December, and I called them today to find out how their new location's been. And they said that they've been operating at full capacity ever since they switched this building. And then for those of you that don't know, their mission is to provide food, shelter, help, and hope to Missoula's homeless and underserved population. So some of the things they provide is short-term emergency shelter, veterans housing services, access to just basic hygiene, so like showers and bathrooms and clean clothes and a spot to wash clothes. and all those things that we might take for granted. And then they also have access to technology and then training, like technology training. So they have a computer lab. And they also have some access to medical care. And we're not quite there yet. They have a really nice updated website. We got our new local grocery store right here, which I am super excited about, with the black coffee bar inside. I've always wondered what it would be like to be a stewardess. Probably close to it. Yes.
What's that coffee talk thing you mentioned?
So we have a family resource center. Hold on just a second, I'll get back to that. So here is the new pub. And it's a pretty cool space.
That's good. Yeah. We're done.
So I was asked what Coffee Talk was. So we have a family resource center at Lowell, and the FRC hosts Coffee Talk every morning, which is just an opportunity for Lowell families to stop and chat, and it's great to get to know other parents. So, any other questions? Oh, that's it. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. So that concludes our tour, and now we'll be headed back, and you'll be doing your evaluation sheets, please.
I forgot to share something really awesome with you guys. So back to the Burn Street area. So they're going to be starting a program that's called, where is it? It is called the Double Snap Dollars program, which is exactly what it sounds like. So the SNAP program is the it's food stamps. It's the new name for food stamps. But basically what it does is anytime someone on food stamps buys fresh, real food, it's going to be the value, the money amount is going to be doubled essentially. And that's going to be coming soon this summer, which I think is an amazing way to meet the mission of the whole building. Anyway, thanks.
Is that just
This is Sherry Rockin again. I guess I have a chance to do one more last word. We're going to go by this intersection here of Orange and Broadway. This is the Riverfront Triangle, and parking lot across the street that is owned by the hospital. They're building a new garage on the site of the defunct Albertsons. So we're hoping for a really wonderful redevelopment at this intersection to be announced this spring.
where is it? Where?
Oh, I guess it was a Safeway. Yeah, sorry.
Thanks to the organizers.
Yes, thanks, Jane. And Karina.
You're welcome, and thanks for everybody for coming along, and I hope you liked the food and it was good. And think about next year, we're going to visit the more southern areas of town, unless we divide it into three, which was suggested, so maybe we can have a little more leisurely ride and not be so rushed. So thank you again.
And have drinks.
And have drinks.
No food.